Now we're going to start with the modeling techniques. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at the extrude, the bevel, and the insert edge loop too. So let's go into Maya by creating a new scene. I'll quickly add a cube in the scene. Hit on R to scale this up. And these lines, I just want these lines to be straight and take away all these jagged line here. I'm going to enable anti-aliasing to take away all these jagged lines from here. You don't have to do that. I just want the lines to be perfectly outlined. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the extrude. What is the extrude? Extrude is just a way of bringing out an extra mesh or an extra shape out of the shape you have. Not really a shape, just a mesh, because we say a shape, it simply means that we are creating another cube out of this cube. Well, technically, yes, but we're not going to say that. It's just like extending a particular face or an edge or so on. So let's take a look at the extrude now. So let's say we want to extend this face here. We can now go into the component mode by selecting the face mode. Now we can select this face. You have two options of extruding. You can come down to this part here and hit on extrude, or you can make use of the shortcut key, which is Ctrl E. And once you do that, you are going to see another pivot with an ellipse around that pivot. Now, this is telling us that we are in the extrude mode. Now, to extend this face or to extrude this face, you want to click on this arrow here and drag it out. So from that, you can extrude the face. You can now see that we have an extra faces here. Now, another way you can do this extrusion is by clicking on the face and hit on Ctrl E to extrude, and this time hit on W and drag this out. You can extrude. Now if you want to extrude other faces, you can just select this face here, hit on Ctrl E, drag it out to extrude. You can repeat the same process here, Ctrl E, drag it out to extrude. Do that here, Ctrl E, drag it out to extrude. One thing I want to show you before we go into the bevel, it's when you extrude, let me make use of this, you hit Ctrl E and maybe later you click off and you continue modeling and doing everything you want to do. One thing you need to know that when you hit on Ctrl E, you have already extruded that face. If you don't drag that face out, that particular place, you are going to have the edge. Let me show you. We hit on Ctrl E here, but we did not extrude. Now if I hit on W and drag this out, you can see that we have an extra face there. So you need to keep this in mind because this can cause issue for you. So sometimes the way you can just disable this, first thing first, before you extrude, you are going to select the face, then you hit on Ctrl E to extrude. Now maybe you can drag this out. Now if you hit on Ctrl Z and you think maybe you have undo that extrusion, you did not undo the extrusion. You are going to have, let's just click on other faces, you are going to have that face there. So how are you going to completely undo this? So let's say we select this face, hit on Ctrl E to extrude. We drag this face out just like this and we hit on Ctrl Z. You want to hit on Ctrl Z again and just hit on Ctrl Z again to deselect that face. At this point, you are going to be sure that, okay, there is no extrusion there. So now once you select that face and drag it out, you can see that there is no extrusion. The same thing applies to the edge. You just have to go into the edge mode, select multiple edges and hit on extrude. That is if you want to extrude that particular edge. Now let's go back into the object mode and delete this. Let's take a look at the bevel. I'm going to add a cylinder and I'm going to add a cube. I'm going to move this out. There is what we call the smooth preview in Maya. If I select this cube and I hit on 3 to go into the smooth preview in Maya, you can see that my cube has turned to a sphere. Now, how do you prevent this from happening when you go into the smooth preview? You are going to make use of the bevel, or you are going to make use of the insert edge loop tool. Well, we'll get into the insert edge loop tool in a moment. Now, to make use of the bevel, another thing you need to understand about the bevel is used to create a rounded edge, a holding edge, and you can use it to create multiple edge as well. Depending on how you model, that is how you are going to make use of the bevel. If you are into the sub-D modeling, you are going to make use of the bevel a lot in most cases, but we're just going to take a look at the basic use of the bevel. Now, if I hit on Control B or come down to this part here that says bevel, when I click on that, you can see what is happening. And I have to go back to the extrude. I couldn't show you some things about the extrude, and I need to show you those things. So here we have the fraction, we have the segment, we have the depth, we have metering along, and we have the chamfer. So for the fraction, it is going to increase and decrease the distance between the edges. Segment, it is going to add more edges to your bevel or to your mesh. Depth, if you want it inward, you go to -1. If you want it outward, you go to +1. The metering, you won't really see this that much, and I'm going to skip those two for now and go over to chamfer. When I turn over the chamfer, you are going to get a hard edge here. So I'll just go back to the chamfer and keep it on. We will get to that later in the video. So for the fraction, if this is too fast, as you can see from here, you can hold down Shift and Control, and it is going to move incrementally. You can see that the same thing applies to the segment. When you hold that, it is going to move, but not that way as it is supposed to. But mainly you use it for the fraction. Now, if you forget the shortcut key, you can just make use of this ellipse we have here. When you reduce it, you are going to be able to move incrementally, just like this. Now, if we keep it this way, we'll go into the object mode, which we are already in the object mode, and we hit on 3 to go into the sub-D mode or the smooth preview. You can see now that we maintain the shape of our cube here. Different ways you can apply the bevel. So let's say I want to make this top of my cylinder to go inward a little bit. I can go into the edge mode, double click to select all the whole loop, and if you want to select multiple edge, you can just select one, hold down Shift, select another, or sometimes you can just select one, hold down Shift, double click, and it is going to select that particular loop. This is handy when you are working with faces and so much. So if I go into face mode, select this face, hold down Shift and select it, it's going to select that loop round. But if I select one and I just double click, it is going to select all the whole faces. By holding down Shift, it is going to tell Maya the particular faces you want to select. So I'm going to double click and select all that loop round, hit on Control B to bevel, and I can just leave this way. So let's say I want to add one, or just say 2 segments in the middle, or just, yeah, let's keep it this way. We want to make something like this. So now you can see with the help of the bevel, we've been able to achieve something like this. If I go into the smooth preview, you can see what I have here. Of course, we'll have it here. Try for yourself. You've done a perfect job. You can exit Maya and use your model. Okay, now you can see that we have something nice here, and the place we did not bevel, you can see that we don't have anything here. We have just the default smooth preview. So now keep that in mind. That is the use of the bevel to bevel edge, make a rounded edge in Maya. So let's talk about the inside edge loop too. You have seen me in previous lesson adding edges to my object or to my mesh. I did not make use of the insert edge loop tool. I make use of the multi-chord tool. Now, if I want to use the insert edge loop to create an holding edge to this my mesh. Now when I hit on 3, you can see that this part it's been smoothed out. Now if I want to prevent that, I can make use of the insert edge loop tool to prevent that. And how does that work? First thing I need to do is to select the insert edge loop tool. When I select the insert edge loop tool, I will be able to insert edges in any part of my mesh. So I can go over to mesh tools from here, and I'm going to get the option here that says insert edge loop tool, and I'm going to select it from there. Or you can, while you are in the object mode, shift right click, you are going to get the insert edge loop tool from here. Or when you go into the edge mode, select an edge. When you shift right click, you are going to get the insert edge loop tool from here. So depending on how you want to select the insert edge loop tool. Okay, so now what I want to do is to insert an edge here, so that when I go into the smooth preview, this bottom part it's not going to be rounded out. So now I can hold down shift or go over to mesh tools and select the insert edge loop tool from here. Now to insert an edge loop in Maya, you want to go over to the edge and just click. When I click, you can see that I am adding a loop around my cube and around my cylinder. And if you want to insert an edge loop going up and down of your mesh, you just click on this part here and it is going to insert the edge loop. So wherever places where you want to add your edge loop, you are just going to click on any edge there to insert the edge loop. Of course, it's going to take a lot of practice to understand how to insert edge loop in Maya. It took me couple of days to finally understand how to insert edge loop in Maya. So from here, I can just click and drag this down. Now, while you are still holding the left click, you can move this edge loop to any part you want to add it to. So I'm going to come down here and insert the loop here. If you want to, you can add one from here, but of course it's not going to go around. We'll go into that later on. So now I can just right click, go into the object mode and hit on W to go out of the insert edge loop tool. So I'm going to select the object, hit on 3 to go into the smooth preview. Now when I go into the smooth preview, you can see that this bottom part it's no longer rounded, but I need this edge to shift closer to this place so that this edges here it's not going to be round as it is here. Now this brings us to the second part of the insert edge loop tool. If you want to insert multiple edge loops, how are you going to do that? So here I just need, I need to take this close to this part as well, and I need to bring this back here. So let's say here I want to add 3 edge loops or 4 edge loops, so that we have already 3. So I want to add 3 edge loops here in this middle. How am I going to do this? So now I can shift right click while in the object mode and go into the insert edge loop tool. But selecting the insert edge loop tool, it's not what you want to do. You want to click on this square at the right part of it, and when you click on that, it is going to open up the option of the insert edge loop tool. Don't worry about this. We are currently in the smooth preview, so I can just hit on 1 to go out of the smooth preview. Now if you want to insert multiple edge loop, you want to hold down, you just want to come down to this part that says multiple edge loops. So now once you click on that, these numbers of edge loop it's going to be activated. At first it is grayed out, but now it is enabled. So you can just click here. I want to add 3 edge loops in the middle. I can just hit on 3 and now come down to this part here and just click once, and it is going to insert 3 edge loops for me. Now keep in mind, once you are done with this, make sure you reset the tools and close the window so that you don't find yourself having this issue later on and you forgot that this is where you made such settings. So now I can hit on W to go out of the insert edge loop tool, and now hit on 3 to go into the subdue mode. Now take a look at this. You can see that this part it's no longer rounded like the way it is rounded for, with the help of the edges we have added. Now you can also use this in already a mesh that already have multiple edge loops depending on what you want to do. So let's say I want to add more edge loops to this. I can just click here, come down to this part here, click here and add an edge loop. You can also click here as well, but make sure you click the line. You can just click on anywhere to add edge loop. You can also come down to this part here and click here to insert an edge loop, and I want one here. I can just click here to insert an edge loop. So this is how you can make use of the edge loop tool in Maya. Of course, we are going to use this a lot once we start modeling in Maya. So take out your time, practice the extrude, the bevel, and the insert edge loop to get comfortable with it, because these tools are going to come in handy when these tools are going to be useful when you start modeling in Maya. In the next lesson, we are going to take a look at the multi-course tool, which is the tool I have been using since all this while, and we are also going to take a look at the target weld tool. I said weld. Well, it's just weld. Okay, see you guys in the next lesson.